Thanks so much for joining us. I mean, you've got a handbook there in front of you. You told me just before we went on here that that is the Constitution. I mean, constitutionally, what the military is doing now, is that allowed?
First of all, let me thank you for inviting me to the show. And secondly, it is true, this is the Constitution of Zimbabwe. I am a legislator, and being a legislator, I took oath to protect and uphold the Constitution. What the Defense Forces have done is in line with the Constitution. Section 212 of the Constitution, which clearly states the function of the Defense Forces is to protect Zimbabwe, its people, its national security and interest, and its territorial integrity, and uphold this Constitution. So one, is the national security an issue? Yes. You've got a president who is elected by the people, who has a mandate to actually govern the nation. He's not doing that. The First Lady has usurped powers. In usurping powers, it becomes a national threat to the security of the country and to the interest of the country. The military, the Zimbabwe Defense Forces have a right to step in to restore order. It is not a coup. No one in Zimbabwe is complaining. No one has been shot. There's no civil unrest. It is within their line of duty to be able to do that, because you cannot allow somebody without executive powers to usurp powers that she does not have. This has been pretty evident in the rallies that she has held, where Professor Moyo was being investigated by the Anti-Corruption Commission, which is a body mandated constitutionally to investigate corruption at the behest of the president, because it's been very clear that there must be zero tolerance on corruption. She, upon him being investigated, she then directed the investigations to stop. This is in violation of the Constitution. And in so doing, we now have a problem where the Constitution is not being upheld. In not being upheld, chaos is likely to happen. So the military then steps in to ensure that there is no disorder and harm, because people are impatient. Okay, right. The economy is not being addressed because of the corruption which is happening. But
the economy hasn't been addressed for a very long time, and some people may differ with your definition of what a coup is. The military essentially took control of the state broadcaster. They've essentially got the president and his family in-house arrest. I mean, Joseph, what is a coup to you? How would you describe the situation? Coup, no coup?
No, certainly. I think if you look in terms of what the army has done, which is what I said earlier on, we believe the army is very disciplined. We believe that, they will do the right thing, as long as, they are able to then separate what's happening within ZANU-PF from basically their own succession issues and government. Now, if you then take over, the broadcasting corporation, you put the president under house arrest. Certainly, you make him not possibly able to function as a president. But I think, as Comrade Mliswa said, certainly I think what has been emerging in Zimbabwe over the last few months is that the First Lady basically has been making the decisions. We also, when she was going into rallies, pointing at people and telling them that you can do A, B, C, D. You also heard basically that one of the ministers of local government, 9 provinces basically had voted him not to be part of ZANU-PF, but she said he's going nowhere. So one person is making a decision for a party, and I think possibly this is what triggered this. But my hope, as I said to you earlier on, is that the army will continue with the discipline, and the discipline that obviously spanned from the liberation struggle, and get to understand that for Zimbabwe to move where we to go, from an economic and political independence perspective, they need to make sure that the power goes back to the people through a democratic process.
But let's talk about the outlook for the ZANU-PF, for that party. Now, I understand that you have been very vocal in your criticism of what shouldn't be happening there as an MP. And my question to you is, for the future of ZANU-PF, the fractions right now between the youth and then the military, or those with military credentials. I mean, is this party divided beyond return?
This party is built on the founding principles of the liberation struggle, which we all are part to. Even the Constitution is very clear in terms of its preamble on how the party will be run, how the country will be run, and so forth. So whether you like it or not, within the Constitution, it is very clear about exalting and extolling the brave men and women who sacrificed their life during the Chimrenga War. It is in the Constitution, so it would be amiss, it would be naive of anyone to separate the military who were part of the liberation struggle and the war veterans. They are one and the same thing. For those who thought that ZANU-PF did not have people involved in the military, then they were wrong. You must understand that they are there to protect the founding principles of the struggle. There are people who lost blood, there are people whose blood was lost, lives were lost as a result of that. So they cannot watch that sacrifice being torn away, being taken away by people who are irrelevant at the end of the day. So that's a position that they've taken. And within ZANU-PF too, you've got to understand ZANU-PF is the ruling party, is the governing party at the end of the day. And the reason why they have come in, they could have done this to any party, by the way, because they think military are apolitical at the end of the day. They've got to protect. And in so doing, they've shown that they are a military of the people, a defense force of the people, in stepping in to address certain things which are not of an economic nature from a governance point of view. Yes. The system has become ungovernable at the end of the day, so democracy must be seen to prevail while they actually hold fort.
Let's come back to you. We do have to go to a very quick clip. We'll come back to you now as we continue to track the developing story here in Zimbabwe. Let's take a look at the political background to this military action.
The roots of this military action in Harare lie in Zimbabwe's protracted power struggle over who should take over from 93-year-old President Robert Mugabe, who's been in power for more than 37 years. There were two heirs to the throne, ZANU-PF veteran politician and Deputy President Emmerson Mnangagwa, and the 51-year-old wife of the president, Grace Mugabe. She is supported by the so-called G40 group of young ZANU-PF members. When Mnangagwa was fired, the head of the army, Constantine Chiwenga, moved in support of him. This could make 75-year-old Mnangagwa the favourite to take over as interim president at the very least.
Well, joining us now on the line to get an update on the latest developments in Zimbabwe is Ed Cropley, who's Africa Bureau Chief from Reuters. Ed, great to catch up with you again. Any developments that have transpired since we spoke this morning?
Well, it's been sort of eerily calm, I suppose, would be the way to describe Harare, although we did have news just recently that the military forces who've taken over the centre of the town have just disarmed paramilitary police at a major paramilitary police barracks in the centre of the town. The police were really seen as one of the few arms of the security forces who might have come out swinging for Grace Mugabe. But it looks as though even the more hardcore elements of the police have now been effectively neutralised, which really leaves very little by way of opposition to what the military pulled off last night.
Right, and Ed, I noticed a story that the military leader was in China last week to meet the defense leader there. I mean, any correlations with the timing of the visit and what's transpired since he returned?
Well, if you listen to the Chinese, there's absolutely no correlation whatsoever. They are presumably extremely keen not to be painted as a sort of a foreign government that is prepared to export unconstitutional changes of government in supposedly friendly states on the other side of the world. I think they may well actually have a fair case in this respect. Our understanding is that the head of the armed forces, Constantine Chiwenga, was actually sent out of the country, out of Zimbabwe, a week ago when the purge against Emmerson Mnangagwa was launched, in order to keep him out of the way. Effectively, if you send the head of your armed forces to China so that he's in no position to launch any sort of military counteroffensive against a purge against Mnangagwa. So it looked as though it was a move against Chiwenga, but nonetheless Chiwenga came back and has managed to coordinate what appears to be a very, very carefully laid plan to take out and neutralize the G40 faction in ZANU-PF.
And Ed, what are some of the questions that have been coming through from investors there? I mean, a lot of South African companies in Zimbabwe there. What's top of their mind? Well,
there are two ways of looking at this. In the short term, yes, it's going to be unstable. It's going to be a bit nervous. I imagine foreign tourists will possibly think twice about taking that holiday to Victoria Falls or Wanky Game Park, which are some of the other amazing sites that Zimbabwe has to offer. At the same time, most businesses are already under extreme pressure in Zimbabwe. It's in the middle of another financial crisis. Unemployment is at 80 or 90%. The value of dollar-based savings in bank accounts is worth just a fraction of their face value. So businesses are really struggling, and in the short term, this is not going to provide any economic salvation. However, long term, the military and the allies who sort of seem to be around the military, obviously that's Vice President Mnangagwa, there appears to be a bit of diplomatic cover from the international community. Some business leaders we know are very closely linked to the former Vice President. And so if these people manage to come together in a broad coalition to say, no, now is time to change Zimbabwe's economic policies and its economic direction, to encourage foreign investment, to patch up relations with the World Bank and the IMF, to encourage foreign capital to find a home and a safe home in Zimbabwe once again, then it could be the start of a sort of hopefully a dramatic turnaround for both Zimbabwe and indeed the wider SADC region.
Well, Ed, thanks so much for your time. We'll leave it there, catch up with you later. Hopefully that was Ed Cropley, Africa Bureau Chief from Reuters. Returning back to my studio guests now, Joseph Busher and Temba Mliswa. Temba, just some closing comments from you regarding this situation. I mean, are we now at a point of turnaround for Zimbabwe where stability, where economic growth, where the right kind of things for the economy can start going on?
Certainly, because prevention is better than cure. It's important to understand that the military steps in to avoid a major demonstration or a protest from the people. They have military intelligence that tells them what is happening on the ground, and the economy certainly has not helped. The aspect of corruption has been high. The people have not been arrested. The extravagant spending of the First Lady, even here in South Africa, out of this little foreign currency that we have, that must be that's the reason why they've now targeted ministers who are corrupt. It's not purging ministers who are G40, but ministers who are corrupt who are not being arrested. So if you clean out the aspect of corruption, come out with democracy, which everybody accepts, foreign direct investment will come into the country. No one will put money into a country which is corrupt, which ultimately has no policy which does protect the money that investors come in. There's been inconsistency in terms of government policy pertaining to indigenization and so forth. So the army has come in, and remember, the army in their statement equally says Parliament must continue doing its job. 97 of the Constitution clearly gives us the mandate to impeach the president. And already some of us are going to be moving a motion to impeach the president. So they have not taken over. It is within their right to do that, within their ambit to do that. As Parliament, we would play our part in impeaching the president because of instability which is in the country. So for me, there's got to be a democratic process. ZANU-PF is in power until 2018. They're going to allow an extraordinary Congress to happen, and democracy must prevail. They've said the purging which went on, which included myself, former Vice President Mujuru, Didmas Ntasa, all the people, war veterans, they must come together and find the person that should take over. That's within the Constitution too. So there is nothing that they're doing which is outside the Constitution. So the extraordinary meeting which ZANU-PF is going to have will now pave the way for the next person to come in from a democratic point of view till 2018. It's most likely to be Emmerson Mnangagwa because he controlled 9 provinces out of 10. This is because the 9 provinces chairpersons were fired as a result of being aligned to him and so forth. Right. The president is safer under the military that's in charge right now. The president is safer under Emmerson Mnangagwa because of the relationships that they've had. He was the first Minister of State Security.
We'll have to leave it there. Temba, thanks so much for your time. We'll certainly catch up with you again. That was the former chair of the Mashonaland West Province and Central Committee member of ZANU-PF, Temba Mliswa.